This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to This is the G Podcast. Yes, yes, yes. What's up, y'all?
Happening.
Gotta do it, man. Each week we do news, politics, pop culture. They're piping out to you from the one and only Tanya B, but she is frozen this week, y'all. Good. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I mean, even the ATL hit 18 this weekend. So get well, Tanya B. Get well, Tanya B. Vi, Talib, and the one and only political analyst, Harold Michael Harvey, are here. And we're going to do news from Syracuse Mike. But before we get started, I got to shout out the Newsmaker crew for episode 209. Of course, Talib and Vi, but first appearance in 2024. Y'all give it up for the one and only I call him HMH, Mr. Harvey, Tuskegee's best, the one and only HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Harold Michael Harvey, you've had a couple of books out before, since you've been on the show. So bring people up to speed with what you got at HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. What's going on?
Well, I think my new book is Watch Night, which delves into this issue of Watch Night. But I tell the Watch Night story through the lens of the church I grew up in. We were organized on January the 1st, 1863, came together out of fear of what would happen at midnight, at least when the sun came up on the 1st, because Lincoln had proclaimed that formerly enslaved people would be free on that day. So they came together, worshiped and prayed, and that tradition was held throughout the South. And so I wrote my church history starting on January the 1st, 1863, and ran it up to 160-year history, concluding in 2023.
Good stuff.
I've got two projects that I'm working on for this year. I plan to have a book on the Young Thug trial, and I'm also next year will be the 50th anniversary of the first Black elected officials in Macon, Georgia. So in 1975, Macon elected 5 Black members to the Macon City Council. And so I'm going to write a book about those 5 gentlemen and one lady, at least 4 gentlemen and one lady.
Good stuff. Was Elaine Lucas on? No, I'm just joking.
Elaine Lucas was probably the 8th
close.
She was the 8th person elected to the council.
Yeah.
A Black person. My brother Gerald was the 7th person elected. Yeah. And you may know Henry Ficklin.
Yes.
Henry would have been the 6th because one of the first 5, Eddie Smith, Reverend Eddie Smith, Dewey's father, Reverend Smith moved his family from South Macon over into Cherokee Heights. And as a result, that moved him out of the district. Yeah. And so Henry Ficklin ran for that seat in a special election and became the 6th person elected. And Gerald came in 3 years later.
Yeah, shout out to the good people in Macon. And definitely, I was joking, but for real, the one and only Elaine Lucas does great work in that city, still is doing great work in that city. And her husband, of course, David Lucas, has been representing the state. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. In fact, what made that race possible was her husband, David Lucas, was a state representative. I believe he was elected in 1972. And one of the first things that he did was to draw up district lines that would enable Blacks to have participation on the Macon City Council for the first time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And we're going to get into the Young Thug when we start our discussions. So, but great stuff. You got a prosperous 2024 ahead. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yep, big time. And there he is. Y'all heard him. This is dope because today, y'all, January 20th is National DJ Day. Y'all give it up for the one and only, still doing his thing on the wheels of steel. Y'all give it up for Talib Shabazz. Yes. How you doing, man? I'm glad you made it, man, because, you were kind of traveling. Yeah. Travel's kind of crazy. The air, or whatever, the roads, the air.
Yeah, I was in the air today. But yes. Yeah, it's been, with the weather and everything being what it is, I was expecting more delays. Stuff. My flight got a little delayed today, leaving out. So, but I'm here.
Glad you're here, man. I'm going to give you your shine, man, on the ones and twos, too, man. Go ahead. Give it to you. Yes. I have my ones and twos are collecting spiders and dust.
But it makes a good prop. It makes a good prop.
Oh, let me tell you, it's a great prop. It is a conversation starter. Yes, and y'all know who he is. Y'all know absolutely. I'm not going to say it this time, Bob, but y'all know he is ready for the divisional rounds of the NFL. Y'all give it up for the one and only. Yes, Vi, the country commentator. Quick word on this weekend. Vi, you got a word for the weekend? For this, because the NFL. Let me tell y'all a quick story. Don't go against the NFL on television. That's all I have to say.
Never.
The Emmys had their worst ratings ever. Try to go up against these games on Monday night.
Do not.
Horrible. Do not.
It don't even matter what game you got playing.
No, it does not matter. A wedding, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But what are your thoughts for the weekend, Vi? I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You got more than football, but football is your thing.
I truly do. But my thought for the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the same thing that Tanya been trying to tell us for the longest, and you probably been saying it too. The COVID is out there, people.
yes, it is.
If you don't think it's out there, you are kidding yourself. I called my buyer today. I said, "You sound pretty bad." She said, "I got the COVID." I said, "Oh yes." So it's out there.
I got into a conversation with somebody, and I know we're going a little bit long. We appreciate y'all, but I got into a conversation with somebody, and they were telling me, COVID is over.
Oh, no.
I said, okay. I said, yeah, it's over as a pandemic. But I'm wearing my mask. I still wear my mask in the grocery stores, man, because people are coughing.
I ain't want that for you. I get it because it ain't really touched anybody I really know who had it lately. Mm-hmm. But I know people who has gotten it. I'm going, dang, it's still out there.
Yeah, I only wear it when it's going to be close quarters and people don't cover their mouths still.
That makes sense
in these stores, man. Yeah.
So you should, since you've never had it. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if I think I had it about.
We have told you.
I think I had it about 4 times.
No. If you had it, you will know. That's the truth. It ain't like to walk around flu or cold.
All right, y'all. All right. Are you crazy? Hey, let's go ahead and do this, man. Here's the deal. Let's go ahead. Something a little bit different this week with Tanya being out. Let's go ahead and the group will take a break, but we'll go ahead and do news with Syracuse Mike, and we'll come right back. Here we go.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
A short-term deal has been reached in the Senate to avoid a government shutdown. President Biden met with congressional leaders Wednesday concerning the national security supplemental package. But Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson says he told the president,
we must have change at the border, substantive policy change.
Democrat and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was more optimistic while recommending a compromise with Republicans.
Any party that says do it my way or no way, we're not going to get anything.
The Washington Post is reporting that the judge overseeing the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump has scheduled a hearing for February 15th to look into recent allegations that Fulton County DA Fani Willis and her lead prosecutor engaged in an improper relationship and mishandled public money. In a court filing this month, Michael Roman, a co-defendant in the Trump case, alleged that Willis was in a romantic relationship with special prosecutor Nathan Wade. Willis hired Wade to assist in the election case. He is in the middle of a divorce where Willis has been subpoenaed to appear in his divorce proceedings. Thursday, Willis also filed a motion claiming that Wade's wife is interfering in her Georgia election investigation. Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee is also directing Willis to file a written response by February 2nd. The report is out, and the U.S. Department of Justice called the response to the 2022 school shooting in Uvalde a failure. Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez.
Those cops were cowards, and those kids were braver than the cops. About the 20-minute mark, there was a call from Chloe Torres. Chloe said, we're in here. Come get us. And no help came.
A billionaire couple is giving millions to Spelman College in Atlanta. The donation comes from Rhonda Stryker and her husband, William Johnston. She is the billionaire granddaughter of the founder of the medical device maker Stryker Corporation, and he is the chairman of the money management firm Greenleaf Trust. The news was shared with students at the College for Women on Thursday.
Our long-serving board trustee, Rhonda Stryker, and her husband, William Johnson, have decided to donate to Spelman College $100 million.
That was Spelman Board Chair Lavette Russell. Spelman said it would use $75 million of the money to endow scholarships. The rest will be used for other projects. It's the largest ever single donation to a historically black college or university.
Man, let me say this. I am happy for Spelman. I truly love that West End area, you know, and definitely, Mr. Harvey, you can relate. And you too, definitely, Talib, you grew up around here, you know, from, you know, what is it? Shrine of the Black Madonna, the bookstore, the best fish, was it Fish Supreme? Down the street.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
Yassine's. Oh,
yes.
God, I still get my hair products at the West End Mall. I'm just here to tell you, man, I hope that Spelman takes that 25% and just redo the entire area. You know, I know they're going to use 75% of that toward the endowment. But I hope that they really take, what do you think, HMH, Mr. Harvey? What are your thoughts on that?
It's good to have rich white people on your board.
Here's my other question.
My grandmother.
Yeah, you're right.
My grandmother, her mother, and my wife are all Spelmanites.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, so I'm happy for the school, but it just goes to show you, you got to have some money people on your boards who may one day give significant contributions back to the school.
And that's a complete podcast that we could have when it comes down to black organizations that are being funded, you know, by white benefactors, you know, people who are donating this amount of money, the largest in HBCU history. Talib, you had something to say then, Vi?
Well, I really just hope that Spelman does what they're supposed to do, and we don't hear, you know, 3-4 years from now that, you know, somebody took some money and ran off with it. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
I agree.
When you've got an endowment that large, you know, that's creating a situation ripe for corruption.
Yeah. Go to you, Vi.
Well, I'm like him. I hope they do something with the money because from my understanding, because my daughter worked with the students over there at the Spelman, Morehouse, Clark University College, they're dorms. Why are they dorms in such bad shape? Yeah. So now they got the money. There's no reason for this to be anymore. Right. And I don't want to hear this time about it's tradition. Tradition what? Living in slums?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
get rid of that tradition.
Hey, Vi, say it for the people in the back.
I mean, come on now. I mean, my daughter worked with them. And the kids, they say living condition in the barracks is just, it's unheard. It's unbelievable how bad it is. And I'm thinking,
let me tell you guys, I was actually accepted to Clark. It was Clark College back then, BAU. And that's the thing that turned me off. When I went on the college tour, you know, and I hate to say it, I mean, you had mold, you had, you know, even at Morehouse, you know, there were weekends where, you know, some of the students would come to where I eventually went to school and they would say, damn, shit, our dorm. I mean, they had a rainy weekend and you know, had water coming in the dorm. I mean, that doesn't diminish the reputation of the school and the quality of the education. But I agree with you, Vi, that the physical plant, got to bring it up to speed. You can't.
If you can do better, Why don't the kid deserve a nice place? I mean, I understand the education is great. I hear it's great. The standard is high, but should my living condition meet the standard of the education? So where's all this money going if they're not building these dorms up?
Well, I hope that $25 million definitely goes toward not only, definitely renovating the campus or the campuses, but also the area, because you can make that situation an incubator, because there's so much promise before somebody else comes over and grabs it. Because I know the property is undervalued. One more, unless you have, Mr. Harvey, one thing. We'll end the whole HBCU discussion with you, Toledo.
Okay.
Really, after visiting my son at Alabama State,
Lord have mercy.
we realized that, I don't know, maybe it's something to keep the kids humble. You know what I mean? Because every HBCU I've seen has got at least one or two dorms that look like, what? I mean, like when I was at, I had a couple of friends at Morehouse in what they called the units, and there was a pipe that went through two people's dorm rooms and the hallway. Came out of the ground and just made a nice little.
Oh my God. Let me say this: I was a dorm director, Proctor, RA, whatever, for 4 years, and the school. I mean, that they weren't going to let that happen. I mean, even though it was a state school, but I agree with y'all 1,000%. I don't push the narrative because but this is a lot of money. It's a whole lot of money. Okay. Yeah. I mean, of course, people can look at Harvard and some of the blue bloods and some of the Ivy League schools and say, well, they get a whole lot more, but this is a significant push. I mean, I don't remember anything like this since what Cosby, the Cosbys gave to Spelman back in the day. So this is a fantastic opportunity for the school. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Mr. Harvey? Then let's jump right into it, unless you have anything else to say.
Well, one of the reasons you see the conditions at HBCUs that you see that y'all have talked about is because they don't have the resources. And what has happened in this instance is that a member of the board of trustees who has some financial wherewithal has stepped up big time and donated $100 million. The school has already decided how they will spend it. $75 million goes into scholarships, and $25 million goes into whatever. And I would imagine infrastructure, maybe building new dormitories, redoing the ones that there are. I attended an HBCU at Tuskegee Institute. I did not live on campus. I mean, every year I was in college, I lived off campus. And many of my friends who lived in dormitories always would find their way over the house and would sleep on a couch or a sofa or in the recliner. And maybe that had to do with what the conditions were like in the dormitory. I can't speak on it.
Because I visited Tuskegee, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Vi just dead set.
That's why I stopped, Baker. I stopped myself.
Because let me tell you, Vi and I went to Troy. Okay. Was it straight down Highway 22? Was it Highway 22?
It wasn't.
So we had a bunch of we had folks from Bama State come up. We had folks from Tuskegee come up, and they would say, "Damn, why y'all campus so nice?" So nice. I'm like, Ralph Adams. That's all I said. George Wallace.
Right. Yeah.
I hate for it to be that way, but damn.
But I understand what Mr. Harvey is saying. I know the schools are underfunded, but my thing is now they got the money, so what the excuse can be now.
All I had to say was Ralph Adams, George Wallace. Google it. I'll leave it at that. Hey, y'all, let's go ahead and do it. Harold Michael Harvey, man, I'm really thank you for taking the time and definitely jumping into our foolishness today. But I'm a little giddy because it's football weekend, so sorry you got to deal with this. But the big thing, the Young Thug trial. Kudos to you for taking the time to really cover this, because it's been going on. It seems like it's not close to a stopping point. So I think people aren't as engaged. They're going to get engaged probably as it gets closer to a jury. Would you agree that it's probably, I mean, when it comes closer to a verdict is what I'm saying. That's when people get a little closer engaged.
Well,
not that they're not within a report. Go ahead.
There's one major problem with the trial, and that is the judicial management of this trial. There have been too many recesses for days. There have been too many half days. The judge will tell the jury to come in at 9:30, and we're going to start about 10, and we're going to go to 12 o'clock, and they don't get started until 10:30 or 11, and then around noontime, because he's got to go off to do handle some other administrative duty because he's the chief judge of the court. He recesses for the day. So the fact that people can't get into the trial it's been disjointed. You have whether it's the prosecution interrogating a witness or whether it is a defense attorney cross-examining a witness, they get to a point and the judge will suspend court for the day. And then there have been twice. For instance, the court hadn't met in over a week. Wow. They took off last Monday. They took off Monday for ML King Day. Well, that's federal holiday, and that was appropriate. But he gave the jury and the attorneys the entire week off, so they'll come back Monday. They had 3 weeks off in November. So the reason people can't get into it is there is no flow in the trial. What the state is slowly and meticulously laying out their RICO case, at least the foundations for this being RICO, but the interruptions in the trial that are being spearheaded by the judge. No problems with the jury. I mean, one day you had one juror who got sick, and so of course they couldn't have court on that day. But most of the interruptions of this trial is because the judge want to go off and do something else. Every Friday he has military court. He has some duty where he adjudicate cases in military court, and so he has to be there by 1 o'clock. He'll suspend court at 12 on Fridays. So, to me, for a high-profile case, this is the worst judicial management of a major trial that I have ever seen in my life. And I've tried some major cases. Mm-hmm. Okay. And on a major high profile case, you want to get to it and pound it out for 3-4 weeks until you come to a resolution.
Yeah. And you know what? Let me stop you there. That's, in my opinion, that's what people have become used to in some of these other high-profile trials. You pound it out. It seems like you can understand the timeline and you can sit through the process knowing that the process isn't going to be lengthened, And what it sounds like to me, because I appreciate you saying this, because I did not know that they were going through this. And what it sounds like to me is it's going to lengthen the trial, which means it's also going to raise the cost of the trial, which is going to it's coming out of Fulton County's pocket. Am I correct?
You're correct, and you take the I don't know, probably for their 6 defendants, at least 5 of them have public paid attorneys. Yeah. Young Thug is probably paying his own counsel, but the other lawyers are being paid by the state, by the taxpayers, Fulton County taxpayers, which I'm one of. So how long is this going to go on? Yeah. And of course the judge is getting paid, and then you take these jurors. I don't know where they are in their employment history at this point in time in their life, but if they're not retired and getting their retirement, there's no income coming in. If you got to go to work, you're missing that income, and what you get paid for the trial is $25 per day, and you don't get the $25 until the trial is over with.
Lord.
So let's say 2 years down the road, they may have a lump sum of money, but the light bill comes due every month.
Right.
The grocery bill comes in my house, comes due every week.
I know that's right.
So there's a lot. I think, to me, the big main issue in the trial thus far is not whether or not Young Thug and his cohorts are guilty or innocent, but it is the manner in which justice is being administered and managed by Judge Euro Glanville. Now, here's a judge who one day, because I wouldn't back down on a case and insisted upon prosecuting the matter on behalf of my client, ordered me to come into court the day after Christmas.
My God.
When somebody else was sitting on the bench and he didn't even come in that day. So I know he understands the time process, because he made me come in on the 26th of December one year, probably 1997 and 1998.
Well, let me say this. Considering the fact it took, a year to even come up with jurors, okay? Or I forgot how long, if it was a year, but it was close.
Pretty close to it. 9 months, I think.
They're going to burn through jurors. Am I correct?
You're correct. And what he did is, I think they only have either 5 or 6 alternates.
Right.
One has already been dismissed. One juror has already been dismissed for an illness. Mm-hmm. So that's one less alternate, and depending upon how long it goes, there may not be anybody sitting to overhear the evidence. At least not 12 people who can decide the case. Yeah. Now, all that has to be factored in. So to me, that's the big story coming out of this trial thus far. After 2 months or 3 months of litigation, is the manner in which the trial is being managed by the trial judge.
I'm coming to you, Talib.
So, Mr. Harvey, do you think that is there some kind of punishment or consequences that happen when a judge drags his butt like this, like they're doing in this particular case?
Well, judges, there's the Judicial Qualification Commission that hears complaints about judges. If someone brought a complaint before them, they have to look into it. And, I think it's quite obvious to people in the legal community who are watching this trial. What I'm saying is quite obvious. The public hadn't gotten caught on to it, although, I've seen some on-site messages where people are talking about the delay. I mean, he'll have you come in at a certain time, and it may be an hour and a half or 2 hours before he gets started for the day. Now, what is he doing? Probably hearing other cases handling other legal business in his chamber. So he's not prioritizing this trial. The state said this is a big deal. The state contends that I don't know if it's true or not, their contention is that they are shutting down a major crime racketeering operation that not only deals in drugs but in murder, and that they think is so important that they threw this big RICO dragnet on these people, but yet the court doesn't seem to have the same urgency that the public interest may be served by coming to a resolution in this matter. Either Young Thug is a rap artist who is engaged in criminal activity to the point of not only selling drugs, but has ordered the hit of other people, or he's not. Right. And the public has an interest in knowing whether they are either eliminating someone off the street who's doing that, or that person can go free. Now, I'm almost to the point now that, if I was representing one of these guys, I would renew my motion for bond. So why should you have those guys been sitting in jail since 2022? Okay? Right. They have the presumption of innocence. I don't know if they're innocent. I don't know if they're guilty, but I know they've been sitting in court since May or June or August of 2022. We're now in January of 24. And it looks like the case will still be going on next January at the rate the court is allowing testimony to be heard in the case. So I will be jumping up and down that I need a bond for my guy. My guy needs to be out of there.
And you know what? Let me say this for the Fulton County Jail, as horrific as the conditions have been described, it's not a good thing to be backed up in a case. It's not at all. So they need to expeditiously get people up out of there. You know what I mean? It does not make sense that you are elongating or stretching out, lengthening a trial. It just does not make sense, because I would imagine it's like it's like a train on a track. I mean, if you've got cars in front of you, then the cars behind have to wait. Right. There are certain trials that aren't going through because of certain trials. There are others, maybe even smaller trials. So that does not bode well for people who have been in the jail for a long period of time, who can't get bail.
And then really, what does this mean for like the Trump case? Because I mean, it's Fani Willis doing both of them. So now she's got to split her time between these two major cases and then whatever other little workload she might have in the district attorney's office too. This doesn't even make sense.
Well, actually, she has two different team of attorneys who are handling both cases. So the lawyers who are trying the Young Thug RICO trial would not be the same lawyers who will be trying the Trump RICO case. And then there are other, I don't know how many members are in the district attorney's office, how many attorneys in that office, but other cases are ongoing.
Right.
It's just where we have a sort of like no urgency to get it done is in this particular trial before this particular judge. Yeah. So I don't think what's happening in this case will affect what will happen in the Trump prosecution.
Well, let's move, and I'll give you a chance to jump in here, Vi. Let's move to what we just heard on Mike's report about Fani Willis. The facts are there, okay? Based on the facts, the facts only that you're hearing right now, what are your thoughts on these allegations?
Well, they're not any facts yet. They are.
But what I'm saying is not based on the facts that she's laid out, but I mean based on the reporting, based on the fact that the judge has planned a hearing for February 15th, and the fact that they've asked her to respond by February 2nd. So they're not simply looking at this as tabloid fodder. And I agree with. I'm not saying this to dismiss it because I think a lot of it's probably tabloid fodder type stuff. But the fact is, she has to respond by February 2nd, and there's going to be a hearing on February 15th. That's what I'm asking.
Well, let's back up.
Okay.
First, and let's understand something. When the defendant's attorney filed the motion 2 weeks ago, she had to respond anyway.
Right.
Okay. And under the rules of procedure, she has 30 days to respond. So when the judge set a date of February the 12th and then set oral arguments or a hearing on the matter a few days later, that's just part of the process.
It's procedural.
He ordered her to do anything that she was not already obligated to do. And when the allegations were made, she said she would respond, and she would respond in court, which is where her response should be to these allegations. If an allegation is made in a court pleading, that's who you talk to. That's where it's going to be resolved. So it's not for her to come out in the public and talk about it. So all we have right now are allegations of a criminal defendant who's trying to wiggle his way out of his criminal prosecution by muddying up the reputation of the county district attorney. Now that's what we are.
Yeah, yeah. Talib.
I just find it hilarious that, well, not really hilarious, but I find it funny that this is the second accusation that Fani Willis is facing over some alleged sexual misconduct thing by the Trump team. I'm like, what is your fascination with this woman's sex life? And I mean, I could see where that might be, an issue if the lead prosecutor and she have some kind of relationship going. But the first accusation, that didn't have nothing to do with nothing. It's like I feel like they're grasping for straws at this point.
Here's the thing, and black women need to really be very careful. They sort of separate themselves from the black man, their protection, and so and they have forgotten. They think they've got some sort of black woman magic, but white men still look at them as black people,
right?
And so what do? So how do you attack a black woman who's digging into your stuff, who could end your political career, who can send you to jail? Is that you talk about them sexually? You try to get somebody to disapprove of their behavior.
Right.
And who was Donald Trump?
The biggest sex offender out there.
To talk about anybody's sexual habits.
Exactly.
And now let's look at it. She's not, even if the allegation is true, she's not in a relationship with a subordinate employee.
Right.
The man is not on her staff. He's an independent person who was brought in for this particular case.
Right.
I don't know what the facts are in the relationship. When she files her response on February the 12th, we'll know more. When they engage in the hearing, I believe it's on February the 15th, we'll know more.
Right.
But until that time, they're just speculations and allegations trying to tarnish the image of this black woman. And black men need to protect our women. We didn't protect the sister up at Harvard.
We didn't.
We didn't protect her. SCLC didn't protect her. The NAACP didn't protect her. None of the major civil rights organizations protected that woman, and she lost her job. Had to resign. And so that's what they do. They get you. You are opposed to their position, and so then they try to settle you up.
Right.
So how did they settle the president? The first black president of Harvard University.
Right.
What did they do? They said that academically she wasn't sound because she plagiarized her work. I was in 12th grade taking 12th grade English Lit. And we had to write this paper. And I laid out Elizabethan English to a T. And because I read a lot, and because Baldwin was one of my favorite authors, I noticed that Baldwin would always put a quote as he began a title. And so I did. I quoted Baldwin on a paper on Elizabethan English during the time period of William Shakespeare.
Okay.
And I had it, the first quote, but I didn't end the quote. But I was a very controversial black student who had integrated that school. And the teacher said I plagiarized my report. I left high school not knowing that I could write. And the thing I wanted to do most of my life was to be a writer. And I left high school not knowing that because they accused me of plagiarizing a paper that I had written to the T. And you can't forgive an end quote. Obviously, I wasn't saying it was my quote because I've got a quote at the beginning and I got the name James Baldwin at the end of the section.
Yeah.
So that's how they attack people who are doing good. They try to go at you, trying to say that you don't measure up. So now they're trying to say that Fani Willis is a worthless human being because she had a romantic relationship with someone on the prosecutorial team. Now, it doesn't affect the facts in the Trump case.
Right.
I mean, Trump called the Secretary of State of Georgia and asked for 88,000 some odd votes.
Yeah.
So that fact is never going to go away. And it doesn't matter who stands up in court and produce the evidence against him in that case. That's never going to change.
Right.
Oh, I want to mention something. Tisha James in New York has dealt with some of the same stuff coming from the Trump folks. And quite honest with you, Talib, this is all this is strategic when it comes down to Trump. Trump has been doing this. You got to, what's his name? Cohen?
Michael Cohen.
No, not Michael Cohen, but Trump's
the old guy.
The Trump's father's, the family attorney, taught him this. Okay, he taught Trump how to use the National Enquirer to do this. He's doing this is in his MO. Right. So knowing, quite frankly, that this is what he's going to do, it didn't surprise me. What surprised me most is how deep and how salacious he's willing to go. Because the next thing that concerns me is now the divorce that's happening with Attorney Wade and his wife, and the fact that she's got a restraining order on the wife. That it's starting to become that. And again, I don't remember his first name, but the guy, Trump's trainer, the guy who trained him to be who he is today.
Right. I want to say Ray Cohen.
What's that?
I think it's Ray Cohen, but I could be.
Yeah. And for the sake of history, you can Google it. But he was the one who was Trump's dad's attorney. Trump is who he is because of Roy Cohn. Okay, his name is Roy Cohn. And this is a kind of a typical Roy. If you read Roy, it's just like we were talking about. I was having a conversation about Southern politics, and you can't talk Southern politics without talking about Atwater. you know what I'm saying. You're a political strategist. This is what he does. So knowing what he's going to do, you probably should think ahead and plan and know that if it's in your closet, it's coming out. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to you, Vi, and then we're gonna go to the next thing, unless you have another thing to close it out with. But Vi, go ahead.
Well, for one thing, they're only telling the salacious stuff that they want you to know. Like the guy he's been separated from his wife for 2 years. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's a married man. Yeah, he's married, but him and his wife have been legally, I ain't gonna say legally, but they have not been with each other for 2 years. Like they said, the only thing you can really try to get her for, they're trying to say she used funds to pay for an exotic vacation for him. Other than that, like my man H&M said, she ain't done anything wrong. Like he said, he's not on his staff. He's not been with the woman for over 2 years. He's been trying to get a divorce for the past 2 years. So if she has not spent any money on the campaign, what she's supposed to use on this guy's vacation, she hasn't done anything wrong. That is her private life. She can date and see what she want to see, long as they're not on her staff, or they can be on her staff, but they got to be equal to her. Can't be beneath her. So it's not a power thing. Yeah. So from what I'm saying, he's a lead attorney. So they're on the same level. So she hasn't done anything wrong. It don't look good when you say it the way they say it, but if you get all the facts, you realize she really ain't done anything wrong. Unless she spent the money. If she ain't spend the money, she ain't done anything wrong. Like Michael Harvey said, the facts are the fact. Dude, you did after the divorce. You did after the divorces. Did you or did you not?
Let me ask you, Vi, considering the cult-like vibe from MAGA, do you think they'll believe that?
No.
What you just said?
No.
I'm asking you based on what we've dealt with for the last, I don't know, 8 years.
They can hear Trump say something right out of his mouth, then he can kind of twist away when they're going to believe him, even though he said it verbatim. Like Trump can say, the sky is blue. The next day, Trump just said the sky is blue. No, I didn't. I said it was purple. And they're going to believe he said it purple, even though we got proof him saying he said it's blue. He is like God to them. And some people believe he is like God. So, no.
Because part of me says, and I'm going back to you, and let's wrap it, Harold Michael Harvey. Part of me believes that this is all fundraising. This is another fundraising letter. Okay, this is about fundraising for him. Okay, now I'll go to you. Let's close out the Fani Willis thing. I'll give you the last word on it. Harold Michael Harvey.
Okay, now two things to tell us how much validity there is to the allegation. Number one, Sadow, who is a fine attorney, however, my experience with Sadow is that he is a good plea negotiator, but Trump has hired him to try this case. But when the allegation was first made, he said that I wouldn't necessarily pursue that unless I had evidence, which suggests to me that this material was brought to him and he passed on it. 2 days later, but the next day, at the same time, Trump seized on it and began to berate Fani Willis for being for the alleged allegation. And 2 days later, Sadow don't write her a letter, doesn't pick up the telephone, but posts on X that she owes the public an explanation.
Yeah.
So now he's falling the line with the Trump thing. But legally, he knows that there is no foundation for these allegations. And I believe that this same information was brought to him and he didn't use it because he is a principal attorney.
You know, the irony in all this is there in the election fraud case, there's nothing there either. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, there's evidence of fraud, of them attempting fraud, but there is no evidence even going to Rasberger and the state of Georgia. There's no evidence, but yet they want to admit that there is. So, yeah, I mean, it just goes down to the cult-like, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Tish James, for Fani Willis. I agree with you. I'm glad you said what you said, Harold Michael Harvey, 1,000%, because they know the vulnerability and they're going to attack every single vulnerability without conscience. You can have somebody, if you remember back in the day when he passed away from Arizona, congressman, when he was running against Obama, and the woman stood up and said, "Hey, he's a Muslim." And Senator McCain stood up and said, "No, ma'am. I know this man. I know his family." Not to say it was a bad thing, but he said, "I know who he is." And he stood up. You just don't have that anymore. You're not going to get that anymore. You're not going to get it from Nikki Haley. You're damn sure not going to get it from the guy who just left, Tim Scott.
And I'm surprised to find.
There we go.
I'm surprised to find. Shame on me. I thought Nikki Haley was white.
Oh no, dog. No. You haven't been listening to the podcast.
I said shame. Since I have been paying attention more than what I said, shame on me for thinking that.
Nah, bro. She does not present like a brown person.
No, she does not. And it's unfortunate that's another whole podcast about first generations. It's another full podcast. All right, last thing, Harold Michael Harvey, man, I appreciate you giving some real good insight, man. I appreciate it. Again, go to haroldmichaelharvey.com. You can see your blogs and everything on the Young Thug case, and definitely some of this as well. But this last thing, and I refuse to contribute to someone else's agenda. I do. Anybody seeking, because clicks and likes through absurdity. I refuse to fall into it. I'm not going to mention any names. I just want to discuss the facts. Okay. I want to focus on educating and dispelling misinformation. And that's why when I saw what I saw, I invited a political analyst, someone with history who understood civics on this podcast to come in and talk about the Electoral College and the importance of staying engaged in a presidential election. Right. Again, I'm not going to get into the foolishness of names and name calling because it can be strategic in an election year. You never know who's getting paid. You never know who's been told to plant certain stories. Right. So I think the best thing we can do is dispel. you know? So, you know, even when others advise against what you should do, the right thing, you know, here's the wrong thing. So, Harold Michael Harvey, you have the floor, and you know what I'm talking about. This whole point about don't worry about the president, whoever's president, or the presidential elections. Your thoughts?
I got you. You talk about an underground rapper who told his...
Or comedian rapper, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, comedian told his followers that because the Electoral College actually cast the final vote for the president, that black people should not go out and vote for the president. They should concentrate on the senators and the representatives. Well, you know, and he says that that by voting for the president, you're really not casting a ballot for the president because of the Electoral College. Well, he's got a little information, but it doesn't have enough. And although the Electoral College does, what happens is that citizens will go in each state and they will vote for who they want to be president. And whoever wins that state's majority vote on the first Tuesday in November, in December, their electors would go to Washington and cast a ballot. And there are a few states that allow an elector to cast his ballot for someone who didn't win that state's plurality. But that's usually not the case in the great majority of the 50 states. You know, so
and I think Nebraska's one of those states. I definitely, Nebraska's one. Go ahead.
So when you cast your ballot for president, and if your candidate wins the plurality in your state, then a group of electors who composes the Electoral College in your state will then be asked to come to D.C., I believe, on December the 20th, and cast your state's votes for that particular candidate. And that's how that's done. So let's say if we followed out the logic of this comedian, and you didn't vote for the presidential candidates, but you voted for the Congress and the senators. And so you got the Congress that you wanted. And that Congress that you wanted enacted legislation that you wanted, but the president was opposed to what that Congress put on his desk. Well, then that president can simply veto it, because one of the duties of the president is to enforce the law, is to sign them or not sign them. So when it comes to his desk, he can say, I don't agree with this and I'm not going to put my signature on it. That's the veto. Or he can do what they call a pocket veto, put it in his desk drawer or in his pocket and walk around with it for, I don't remember now, maybe 14 days or so, and it fails. So that logic from that person is miseducating people who really need to know. And you have these TikTok and YouTube experts. I sat in a classroom at Tuskegee Institute in political science classes for 3 years at Tuskegee Institute, 1 year at Fort Valley State. And I got a well-rounded understanding of the political process.
Yeah.
And so people ought not take their advice from people who haven't had the discipline to sit down and learn what they're talking about. You can read anything on the internet. If the extent of your knowledge is what you read on the internet, you have basically no knowledge at all. Because you really got to get into those books and crack the books and to really understand what's going on.
Yeah, and one other thing, I'm glad you mentioned the veto power. You didn't mention, well, these are just other things. When you talk about the power of selecting judges, appointing judges, you talk about the Supreme Court, which rule of the land, and then you even, go as far to talk about, foreign policy and foreign influence. There's so much more. And the other thing is, my concern, and I hope the Democratic Party or all the parties, when this type of thing happens, not only are you asking for people to engage, but you got to do your education. You got to do voter education as well. I mean, I'm surprised that there hasn't been. And you know what? A lot of this is probably, we're not going to respond to this because we don't want to make it bigger than it is. But I think some things you have to nip in the bud. You have to come out and say, even if it's freaking Schoolhouse Rock, you make a Schoolhouse Rock video. You remember? Hey, my favorite thing, Mr. Harvey, I know you were in class, but Schoolhouse Rock. It did it for me. ABC Saturday mornings. I'm just a Bill.
I get it. Yeah, that was very good. But very well done.
I'm just saying. But also, what I learned in high school, college, elementary school. Right. It's civics. It's basic stuff. The other concern I have, and I'm going to go to you, Talib, and then I'll go to you, Vi. But the main thing that concerns me is during a presidential election year, everything that's down ballot. If someone says, I'm just not going to go vote, and you look at who's the number of names that do affect local elections who are going to be on that ballot. A lot of these states and cities coordinate their elections based on the presidential years. So They know that's going to be where am I right in saying this? Where the groundswell of voters are going to come in. That's where the majority of black people go vote. When it's a presidential year, we go vote. So you got to vote down ballot, and that might include a dog catcher, school board. It includes all those local elections because, it's difficult when you have an off year and you got to get people to the polls because people aren't thinking about the big political presidential election. So with that said, I'll go to you, Talib. Your thoughts?
Let's go to Vi first. I mean,
I know why, because I know why you cut. I know why. I'll go to Vi. I'll go to you, Vi. I know why, but I'll go to Vi.
Okay, without saying names, I'm gonna just say this.
I just don't want to. That's just me. Y'all do what you want to do.
My grandma's mama told me, a person who don't know much or really don't know anything, you give them a little knowledge and they become dangerous. Because that little knowledge they twisted, backfolded, corrupted, and said any kind of way they want to say it. Because they got a little knowledge, they think they know so much. And they become dangerous. And that's what this social media is doing with the influencers. A lot of them, like her, probably went to school, flunked out, probably don't pay attention to history, don't know nothing about history. Found one little piece of history that sound good and makes sense to them, and try to compare it to today's world and just twist it all kinds of ways. And don't look at the big picture of what is really going on. So that person got a little knowledge, so he's dangerous. He's a fool that is dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna say this, and I'll throw it back to you, Talib. You can wrap it up.
Okay.
But I will say, unfortunately. And this is crazy. A lot of these folks can't even vote. They're ineligible.
Wow.
Either through, some of the folks you hear about voting from, and I hope one day that we can lift the felony ban on a lot of folks. But unfortunately, you hear from people with encouraging people to not vote, and they can't vote. They can't even participate in the process. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. And that's why I always say, no, follow the money. But let me go, Talib, you can wrap it up, and then we'll go back and we'll wrap the discussion up with Harold Michael Harvey. Your thoughts. Now, I know you're ready. I know you're ready now.
Yeah. Really,
you ain't got to hold back for me.
No, it's not that. I just had a brain fart. So it's that simple.
Hey, y'all, he has been traveling today.
Yeah, so. Exactly. But really, the funny thing is that I was also one of those people that questioned the Electoral College before I really understood how the process went. Yeah. So my the way I always looked at voting is I need to get out to the primary, because the primary is where we kind of clear the field to see who is the most ready or the most, the guy who would, or girl who would handle the job best.
Yeah.
But when it actually comes to the presidential election, I'd write my own name in because I don't feel like anybody can do a better job than I can. But again, it was just in terms of the president. I voted in the primary. I made sure that I tried to get my guy into the race. If my guy didn't really get to the race, then I definitely write my own name in. I think the first time Obama ran was the first time since 18 that I actually voted for a candidate for president. So my whole thought process in this whole thing is, okay, so you don't want to vote for, you don't want to vote for the president. You think that that's a waste of time, but how much time do you really spend in learning who these other candidates are?
Yeah.
The blank slate alone just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Vote the blank slate. I'm not with that because I don't know who these people are. So now I got to start doing a little bit more investigating. I got to do a little reading. I'm trying to find out who these people are to make better choices because the local level is the most important. Is where I live. And that's the way I've always kind of looked at it. So, I respect what Mr. Harvey was saying. And, I've come to the conclusion that, even in a presidential election, sometimes it's not the best thing to just throw that particular vote away, but at the same time, in good conscience, I couldn't vote for Bill Clinton. Okay. I was ready, first time I was eligible.
Talib, let me say this to you, man. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a right to vote, no matter how you vote.
Right.
Okay, that's your personal choice. Mm-hmm. Okay. The problem I have with this is misrepresenting the process so that people don't go.
Exactly.
I don't care who they vote for. I mean, I have my concerns. We all have our concerns and we express them. It's not about who they vote for. It's about misrepresenting the process to discourage people from voting. Yeah. I think that's unfair.
Definitely.
And that's evil, in my opinion. Don't if you've got some insight that you got from the CIA and the NSA, and you legitimately that you can share. But, I'm going to throw it back to you. I'm going to let you wrap this up, Harold Michael Harvey. We'll wrap up, the show. My thing, I'm one of the people who I'd like to see the Electoral College go. I'd like to see this be all about the popular vote. I'm one of those types of people. I'm like, look, I think it's worn its welcome out. Let's just go. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Harvey, there's a groundswell behind getting away or doing away with the electoral colleges. There's a groundswell, because Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but she lost to Trump, but she won the popular vote. That can happen. It's only happened five times. It happened with Gore. Recently it happened with Trump and Clinton, and it happened with Gore and Bush, where they lost popular vote. Right. They won the popular vote, lost the election, but it's only happened 5 times in history. Only 5 times. All right, wrap it up, Mr. Harvey. Your thoughts, last thoughts.
That was a good point by Talib. I have on occasion voted for myself. Not in the presidential race, but I have on certain local races. Yeah. I've come to the same conclusion. I could do that job better than this person here, and I'm not going to give him my vote. I'll write my name in. I understand that, but the Electoral College system is the system we have. Right. I too think it's a dinosaur whose day has come, and it needs to be put into the archives. But it still exists today and will be used in the 2024 election cycle. And so something got to give. I am having a hard time with this election.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do not like what my government is doing. Militarily
throughout
the world. I've got a big problem with the death and destruction that we have funded and have unleashed in Northeast Africa. And I don't know what I'm going to do in November. I know what I don't want.
Right.
I'm not totally comfortable with what I got. And I'm just going to see how things develop. And as Talib said, there are a lot of other candidates independently who are out there who are trying to make some waves. And some of them will make their way on the ballot and have an opportunity, and some of them will not. You have to be on state ballots in order to be able to collect some Electoral College votes. And so you see, if you were to do away with Electoral College, that wouldn't be a factor, because if you ran strong in your state, any third, fourth, or fifth party candidate could possibly become the president of the United States. Right. So I'm having lots of problems, but I just wanted to address that thing about civics. I mean, it's the system we got. It's going to elect the president, but your vote, in not only in the primary but also in the general election, determines who that person is, and that's it. I mean, and people should listen, should gather their information from credible sources.
And you know what? I'm going to say this, and I'll end it, and let's close. Harold Michael Harvey. There's a thing called voter suppression. Okay. And it is a strategy to keep black people of color from going to the polls. Okay. When our voting, you look at the Obama phenomena back in, 2008, when we're up, when our numbers are up, typically the party wins. When it's down, you know what happens. So it's in a certain party's best interest that our votes, or the black vote, is down, that we don't show up. State of Georgia, situation with Warnock and Ossoff. If we hadn't showed out in 2020, those two senators would not be in office. Sure. Not at all. The black vote drove that, had a lot to do with that.
No.
Harold Michael Harvey, how do people get in touch with you?
HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. Email me at HMHarvey at HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. The website is HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. And, all of my books are listed there. Freaknik Lawyer, My CT Vivian Story.
What? Freaknik Lawyer?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just catching up, Mr. Harvey. hey, let me tell you, Mr. Harvey, he is the core freaknicker of the
You? Really?
Yes. Talib. Hey, that's Talib's wheelhouse.
I mean, Earwax was a record store on Peachtree Street. So, we caught it all, brother.
Talib might be in some of the videos. Freaknik gone wild.
But the students who were arrested during that period of time, I volunteered to represent them at no cost, pro bono.
Yeah. Oh wow! Okay.
I had asked for other lawyers in the Gate City Bar Association to come, and we all go down and represent these kids.
Okay.
But when the day of reckoning came, nobody showed up but me.
I bet they did.
So for 4 years,
wow,
I handled about 200 cases.
Man, I wish I had known.
From Friday to what's that?
I said I wish I had known.
Hey, Mr. Harvey, I ain't seen Talib this excited when you mentioned Freaknik. It was like a light went on.
You need to go on my website and order a copy of Freaknik.
I just wrote it down.
He just hit the buy now button. He didn't even put it in the cart. Hey, wait a minute. You need to send it. Hey, go ahead and autograph it.
Yeah, please. I need an autograph.
Yeah. You notice it was the bronze medal winner for 2020. So won the bronze medal for this year in 2020.
That's amazing, brother. Congratulations.
See, Talib, you just don't know, Talib.
So I need to be contacting Mr. Harvey if I'm trying to run for office. Then, right? Yeah, let's do it, brother. Let's go.
All right, y'all. We love getting feedback from you, positive and negative. Go to castropolis.net. Lee, hit the people poll. Love to hear your voice message, and I'll play back the best. I'm gonna start it off real quick, close it out, y'all. You know, I lived in Dallas from 1994, beginning of 1994 to about 2000. So this is my 30th year of the first time I moved to Dallas. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of applause and one thing I witnessed was the Cowboy dynasty. Because when I got there, it was Troy, Emmett, and Michael.
Oh, yeah.
And I will tell you, it was electric. It was amazing. Because I came from Atlanta, football. So I'd never seen anything like this in my life. And I kind of feel bad for what the Cowboy fans are going through. And I'm going to say this. Look at y'all. Because I was there, okay? I feel bad for... Because it was their year. They should have won. But I will say this, y'all. ESPN needs to come off this high horse because most of these cats are from New York. They're in New York. They're New York media. They are cheering for teams like the Knicks, the Yankees, the Mets, the Giants, the Jets. I'm sorry, New Yorker. You know how it is. So y'all have nothing to be ashamed of, okay, considering the source. Considering the media source. So I'm just going to say that, and I'll go to you, Mr. Harvey. You go ahead. I saw your hand go up.
Well, you know, my son is a employee.
Oh, yes.
ESPN, so
yes, he is.
On that.
I don't put Coley. I don't put Coley in that. No, it's that list of New York core. You know who they are.
He's ATL through and through.
Yeah, he is. Coley Harvey, definitely. All right. Vi, did you have a final, just a takeaway?
Yeah, I got something to say.
Okay, I'll go to you till even then, Vi.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to, I don't know if you all have seen this. If not, I'm going to forward it to you guys later on today. But there was a guy who did a skit on TikTok about the Cowboys. And he basically recreated the Scarecrow scene from The Wiz.
Yes. You can't win. That's why I say y'all are a little bit too harsh, man. You can't win.
We're not too hard.
All right, go to you, Vi. Go ahead, Vi.
We're not too hard because y'all already saying the Cowboy fans.
Vi, go ahead and put Bo in your lap.
Because the Cowboy fans are already saying we're going to win it next year. We're going to win it next year. I can't.
Hey, but you know what?
I just can't.
I cannot. I mean, they're undying. I don't know if it's delusion or whatever. It's just undying. But I feel bad for them this year because they should have won.
So are you going to feel sorry for Bama fans right now?
Nope.
Oh, but you feel sorry for the Cowboy fans.
Oh, Bama just won, dog. Bama's won. Come on. You can't even compare Bama. Come on, that's another podcast. You can't compare the Saban. You can't compare the Saban era to what's going on with the Cowboys. Cowboys haven't won since '96.
I just can't because it's just on the fresh with the Saban. The Bama fan like that now.
But it hasn't been. But see, they're not far removed from being in a championship. The problem with the Cowboy fans, and this is where it really is a problem. They can't even win a game in the playoffs.
Well, what y'all need to do is sign a petition, and a petition for Jerry. Just said Jerry, sit down. Y'all was winning when Jimmy was in charge.
Yes.
And the only championship y'all won without Jimmy, it was Jimmy's team. Instead of winning one, y'all probably could have won 3 more if Jimmy had been there. Y'all haven't done anything since y'all got rid of Jimmy. And you
was that what? Troy, Emmett, and Michael. Troy, Emmett, and Michael. That's all I got to say.
He only hired coaches that won't stand up to him.
Yeah, so true. All right, y'all. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Talib. Again, happy DJ Day.
Yes, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Again, go to HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. Check out his outstanding books. And thank you so much, Mr. Harvey, because that's part of our responsibility as journalists, to as much. We make mistakes on this show. I mean, I make mistakes, but I try to come back If I say something that's incorrect, I'll go back. I'll come back and correct it. I'll do a retraction. Vi, thank you so much. And thank Bo. Please say thanks. If you ever see, you check out Vi on camera. When Vi not snacking on peanuts. I know it. Bo is normally running around his little white. I don't know what that is, but anyway. All right, y'all. With that, I gotta say, as always, and I didn't get a chance to do it, but big thanks to Syracuse Mike, Tanya B, Vi, Talib, author, political analyst, Harold Michael Harvey. Thank you so much. Thanks to the crew, Millennial Nick, Lady J, Regia, Music by K-Dub, all those who help us make it happen week to week. Don't forget, y'all, you can go to our social media. All the links are there. Make sure you share the show with a friend. The 200th episode, Long Sleeve Tea, is still available. The proceeds go to the podcast. Subscribe, turn on notifications, y'all. And with that, episode 209 is in the can. Have a great week. And remember, you can't win. Yes, you can. All right, y'all. Peace and power to the people.
Peace out, people.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.